Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. We are so delighted you're here to join us. It's not a holiday at all. It's in terms of Hanukkah. That's over with. I think we got the Tisha B'Av coming up soon. This is Stop Shabbat, and we're all delighted that you've joined us. But especially instead of watching movies, I know this is a night where a lot of people watch movies. We're excited that you're here, whether you're on StreamSpot or Facebook or YouTube or with us on Zoom. We're delighted you're here. I just want to make sure you know that wherever you're coming from, however you are getting to us, you're in the right place, and we are delighted to celebrate Shabbat with you. And one last favor I'll ask, if you hear us singing and you think you might know the tune, please sing along. And I know that might feel weird if you're by yourself in your living room in front of your computer and you're on mute. That's okay. You still get the same benefit from singing, and even if we can't hear you, we can feel you. So please join us as we begin our celebration of Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem on page 13,
And as we continue with Shalom Aleichem, I can't help but noticing that there's a lot of you who are on other platforms, but for those of you who are here with us on Zoom, I can see that that Josette and Paul are there. I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. And I'm glad, Stephanie, that you were able to connect finally. And Debbie Singer is there. And probably there's a few more, but I can't see. So in the meantime, let's join together. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Yesharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlakim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Lachem Leshalom, Malachei Yeshalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Baruchuni leshalom malachei shalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Zekam leshalom malachei shalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei amlakim hakadosh baruch hu. Together. Ya ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya ya la 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 lo. Zekam leshalom malachei shalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei amlakim hakadosh baruch hu.
And even as we bring up the sound in celebration of Shabbat, we also increase the light. And our executive director, Burl, reminded us this week that starting this past week, there's more light every single day. And I'm pretty excited about that. But what we have behind the cantor is some Shabbat lights that have already been lit, and Cantor Ruth is going to honor them with the blessing for Shabbat lights.
If you have your Shabbat candles and you were able to light them before, Let's join together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. I said before that today's not a holiday on the Jewish calendar. It's not a holiday. I know people have been celebrating a holiday that's really meaningful to people around the world, and even people in Jewish homes have fond memories. And at least probably most people had the day off work, which makes it feel a little weird going into Shabbat when you've been resting all day instead of working all day. Nevertheless, this has been a week where I personally have felt very, let's say, immersed in the world. Very connected to what's going on. And this is our chance to disconnect a little bit. Just for 25 hours, the world is going to be fine without our extra labor. We can just appreciate it. And how we ascend to that plane is using the sulam, using the ladder that our sages set before us of climbing into Shabbat through song, starting with Lehuna Ranana on page 15. Page 15.
לכו נרננה לאדוני נריע לצור אישנו נקדם פניו בתודה בזמירות נריע לו כי על גדול אדוני ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים ישנו. ארבעים שנה עקוד ודור ואומר עם טועי לבבם והם לא ידעו דרכי אשר נשבעתי ואפי אם יבואון אל מנוחתי.
Page 16. שירו לאדוני כל הארץ שירו לאדוני ברכו שבו עשו מיום ליום ישועתו ספרו לגויים כבודו וכל העמים נפלאותיו כי גדול אדוני We continue on page 21. Page 21, Lecha Dodi. We welcome in Shabbat with psalms of our tradition, including Shir Ladonai. I love that piece. We slowed it down a little bit this week because Shir Ladonai, Shir Chadash doesn't just mean you have to sing a different song every week, but you could take a familiar song and sing it a little differently, slow it down and appreciate it. One song that we sing every week, but it's always true, is when we see Shabbat, we say, Lecha Dodi, come my beloved, welcome into our home, into our presence, into our hearts. And we start singing that together on page 21, page 21.
תשתוכחי ומתמי
עשו אני ימי ונבנתה נדלתי ליולים שיזה שור עשייך ורחקו כל מבלייך יסיס אלייך אלוהייך כמסוס חתן על קהלה לך גודי כקלה בעיני שבת יקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על ידי ונפרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת לקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלת גם בשמחה וצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה בני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה בני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה בני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה בני שבת נקבלה.
On page 23, we reach the top of the ladder with a special psalm just for Shabbat. That's on page 23, Mizmor Shir Le'Yom HaShabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. Together. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך מאמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי גיום וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך במעשה ידך במעשה ידך ארנן. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. Magadlu masach Adonai Me'olam kumak shevotecha Magadlu masach Adonai Me'olam kumak shevotecha Yai lai 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 yara lai yara lai Yai lai 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 yara lai Yai lai 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 yara lai yara lai מזמור שיר ליום ושבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון לזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך
Yashikoach, Cantor Ruth, and Yashikoach, that's Hebrew for high five to everybody who's joined us tonight. Thank you for being with us on this Shabbat. We've reached the top of our ladder. We've concluded our Kabbalat Shabbat service. Before we go on to the Baruch Hu and the rest of our prayers for this evening, I want to teach a little bit of Torah that comes from this week's Parsha. And before I get to that, I just wanted to share with you something. I've said this to a couple of people, so I want to make sure you hear it too. There was somebody this week who asked me, I was just talking on the phone, somebody who I've known since I've been here at PJTC for a couple of years. I have not seen his face in these, I guess, coming up on 10 months now. And he asked me a question. He says, Rabbi, will you please tell me when we can have services again? Not tell me when it's going to be, but when it happens, when we can get back together in the building, will you let me know? And I said, brother, when we can get all back together, I'm going to let everybody know. I'm going to be shouting it from the rooftop. I haven't even been on the rooftop, but I'm going to find a way. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a shofar involved. That is going to be a good day. Speaking of good outcomes, we are reaching what I like to think of as the third act of the Joseph story. We're not quite done. There's a bit of a denouement next week. But this is the crucial moment, and the great outcome of the Joseph story happens this week in Parashat Vayigash. Just for a little bit of review, there was this boy named Joseph. He was the favorite son. He got the nicest gifts. His brothers resented him, threw him in a pit. Somebody took him out of the pit, and he's like, oh, great, I'm out of this pit. And they sold him into slavery. And then from slavery, he says, well, at least I'm not in prison. And then he was thrown into prison. But then he did all right. It says he was very successful. It was clear to everyone around him that God was with him. He helped some guys out, interpret some dreams. One of them didn't work out well. One of them did. And the guy who really appreciated his help told Pharaoh. And he said, hey, Pharaoh, I hear you have this dream that's getting you up at night. And that's why most people get up at 3 a.m, I know, is dreams of state. And so I have this guy I know who can help you with this dream. Joseph comes out of prison, listens to Pharaoh's dream, and says, obviously, what you need is a new economic policy for the next 14 years. And Pharaoh says, that's great. Okay, I hear we're going to have 7 good years. We should store up for 7 bad years after that. And who knows, we may come out ahead in Egypt, having stored all this grain when nobody else had the foresight to do so. We might get kind of powerful that way. And if you're such a smart consultant, Joseph, I'd like you to execute the whole thing. I'm going to go do whatever pharaohs do before they invented golf. So a boy who was thrown into a pit went lower and lower and lower. It kept saying Yarad. He went down into slavery. He went down into prison, was lifted to the very heights. And when he's in the very heights and all the people of all the lands surrounding Egypt are there begging for grain, and it's working out well for the Egyptians that said, yes, well, we'd love to give you some grain in exchange for your land, in exchange for all your wealth, and thereby gathered all the wealth of the surrounding land and gathered the allegiance of everyone who needed help. And wouldn't you know that some people who needed help were this family of predominantly brothers from Canaan. And, we haven't heard much from them for the last 20 years, but they show up, hat in hand, and they need some grain. And so Joseph, not missing a dramatic beat, messes with them. He says, are you sure this is all of you? I mean, I don't know how many brothers you have, but are you sure this is all the brothers? Because only 10 of them are there. And he says, well, yes, this is all of us, except there's one brother, we don't talk about him, something bad happened to him, totally not our fault. And there is one little brother who couldn't come. Because his full brother was the one who was lost. He's the only brother of that mother left to our father, and it would kill our father if anything happened to him. So we didn't bring him with us. Can we have some grain now, please, sir? And he says, I tell you what, I really want to help you guys, but I have to see this other little brother. Could you who I've totally never met, could you please bring him along? And so they go back and they get him and they bring him, and that we're almost there. At the end of last week's Parsha, Joseph plays a trick, and he takes his finest drinking glass and he puts it in Benjamin's luggage and sends them away. And of course, he sends people after them and says, okay, somebody stole Joseph's cup, and whoever stole Joseph's cup, he's going to be enslaved to Joseph. And so Judah, knowing what has happened, knowing that even though he's not the oldest brother, he is clearly the most responsible of them. He set an example in a prior Parsha for being a man known for tshuva, a man known for recognizing his mistakes and stepping in front of them before anybody else got hurt and not making the same mistake again. And I'll talk a little bit more tomorrow about tshuva and forgiveness that I think is necessary at this time right now. But tonight I want to focus on what happens right after the big reveal. As some commentators say, one of the greatest moments in literary history. He does this Mission Impossible, Baba, I'm your brother, and don't be scared because I'm not going to kill you. He says, no, I was put here, perhaps God put me here to save the whole family. Don't be scared. Go back. Bring your father here. Tell him what's happened. And if you like, you guys can stay, and I will prosper you. Everything's going to be fine. The family's never been better than it's going to be when you all get back here. But I have something important to tell you as I send you on your way. And in Exodus and Shemot in chapter 45 and verse 24, he says, the Torah says, Vayishalach et Achav, vayalechu, vayomer alehem, al tirkazu baderech. So Joseph sent his brothers off, and as they were leaving, he called out to them, do not be quarrelsome along the way. Now, he didn't have to say this. He could have just sent them on their way and said, make sure you bring that coat. I hope you had it clean since then. But he didn't have to say this. But knowing their nature, he says, look, you guys have been through some hard stuff, and you've got a hard conversation to have with Dad when you get back. And there's this little thing today we call blame storming. Like when things go wrong, it's like brainstorming, but with blame. It's called blame storming. When things go wrong, everybody tries to figure out whose fault it was, and people can get terribly creative about that. But our sages say that, he said, don't be quarrelsome. Don't fight amongst yourselves. Well, I'm not the one who tried to kill him. You're the one who tried to kill him. And who's going to be mad? Who's dad going to be mad at the most? He's like, don't do that. The problem is solved. You are on your way back. Things are going to be okay. It's scary now, but things are going to be fine. I forgive you. So don't tear each other apart just when things are turning around. And what I found out talking to people, what I found out having my eyes open, is that even though things seem to be turning around in lots of ways, God willing, there's some leadership that could help our economy on its feet as we begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel, as the vaccine is developed and distributed, and it seems to be an end in sight, but it's going to take a while. And our nature is to fall into that blame storming. Well, why can't it happen faster? Why does he get a vaccine or she get a vaccine and I don't get a vaccine yet? And whose fault is this anyway? And how are we going to teach them a lesson? Right? We are on our way back. And that is the moment where we are most likely to tear each other apart. Joseph knew this. Joseph said, look, I forgive you. Now the job is trying to forgive each other and trying to forgive yourselves. We've all made mistakes. You guys more than me probably, but there's enough blame to go around usually. And it's totally unproductive to keep your faces in the dirt when you could be looking to the horizon. Now, this may sound a bit Pollyanna-ish. There are dark times yet to come. It will get darker before it gets brighter. And you could ask me, are we not allowed to be upset with people who made mistakes, mistakes that had consequences? Are we not responsible to hold our leaders accountable for their failures? Are we not charged with vigilance to watch the distribution of a vaccine like a hawk, to make sure that it gets out effectively, that it gets out efficiently, and most of all, that it gets out fairly? My answer is, of course we are. Of course we have rights to be upset. Of course we have responsibilities to hold people accountable and to be held accountable, and we have a duty to make sure that we get out of this together as well as we can. But none of those rights, none of those responsibilities, none of those duties require recrimination, require vengefulness, require ugliness. We have a long way yet to go. And Joseph is telling us here, do not be quarrelsome along the way. With the road that we travel together next, you may do your part to lead us toward the light. You may simply want to follow along with us as we march this road together, and you may even choose, for whatever reason, to be left behind. I hope you come with us. If you don't, and you complain, maybe you're right to, but we won't be able to hear you. But if you're with us, I'll ask that you heed Joseph's advice and don't be quarrelsome along the way. We are all trying to figure this out. You can be just, and please be merciful. You can be serious, but be forgiving. And when we get there together, you better listen for that shofar, because, brother, that is going to be a good day, and we are going to tell everyone. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for joining us at PJTC. We're going to continue our service with a call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, on page 28. If you're willing, please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Amborach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai. ומעביר יום ומעביר לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shemo.
אמרי ורבי.
Amen. You may be seated if you wish. We go from blessing God's great light to blessing the constancy of God's love, Ahavat Olam, on page 29. You can be seated if you wish. אהבת עולם.
בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו ושוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Read the next passage at your own pace, and we'll get back together in just a moment. We join together at the top of page 31, page 31. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael, ve'amarta alehem, v'asu lahem tzitzit, al kanfei bigdehem nedorotam, ונענו על ציצית הכנף בטיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריכם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת ויציבים. We continue on page 32, page 32. Amen.
מלכות ורצון קיבלו עליהם משה מרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם. Let's join together in the middle of the page with מי כמוך. ירה לי 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 ירה לי together. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש יורה תהילות אוסף אלה מלכותך ראו עליך וכהיום לפני משה ומרים וכולם זה לי ענו ואמרו זה לי ענו ואמרו אדוני ונאמר כי פרעה את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. We join together on page 33. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace and guide us with your good counsel. Hashkivenu on 33. Hashkivenu Adonai
Eloheinu leshalom ve'amideinu malkeinu lechayim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'amideinu shomreinu lechayim תשכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים תשכיבנו לשלום ועמידנו שומרנו לחיים שלום 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 ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Baruch Shemo.
הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Amen. Let's join together on page 34. Page 34.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם אוי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
יתגדל ויקרא שמי רבה
Amen.
בעלמא דברה קראתי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובהירו בישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם העמיה יתברא וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשה
B'richu.
לעילם ינקוב ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונהמתה דמירם במה ואמרו
Amen. We rise for the Amidah for Shabbat evening. If you want to use the words from the tradition on the page, they are on page 35b, page 35b. And this is a silent meditation. It's a time for private prayer. Once again, you can use the words of our tradition. They are strong. They will hold you up. But anything else you'd like to say to God or any private meditation that you have is quite appropriate at this moment. Let's take some time to pray, and we'll get back together in just a moment. When you're finished praying, you may be seated.
אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי אמן. עושה שלום שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל אמן אמן. Together. עושה שלום שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל אמן אמן. One more time. עושה שלום שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. ועל כל ישראל amen.
Yikaravi Karashame Rabba,
Amen.
Be'amadi Vrakirte Vamlich Mahute, Be'chachon of Yamahun Uvhayda Hobet Israel, Bagalavisman Kareve Meru,
Amen.
Yeheshme Rabba Mevora, Le'alamala Me'amaya, Yitzbara, Yitbara Vishtabah, Yitbar Vitramam Vitnase, Vitadar Vitalevi Talashmeda Kudisha,
Brichu.
Le'ela min korbir hata veshirata, tushbehata venehemata, damiran be'amavei meru.
Amen.
Titka baslo ton uvauton, dohol Yisrael, kodam avuhon divishamaya, vei meru.
Amen.
Yehesh lavach rach min shemaya, vehaim aleinu ve'elko Yisrael, vei meru.
Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, huyase shalom, aleinu ve'elko Yisrael, ve'elko Yoshvete vel vei meru.
Amen. Yashikoach. Let's rise for Aleinu on page 51. Page 51, please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא עזבנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא. על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו. כי המלכות שלך היא, וללמיה תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב את תורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. This is a moment in our service where we remember with honor those in our congregation, in our families, in our hearts who are no longer with us. This week we are marking the yahrzeit, and that is the anniversary of the passing of Abe Davidson, Abraham Fishman, Annie Reef, Annie Lou Brown, Barney Hoken, Christian Murawski, Clara Klein, David Davidson, David Moskowitz, Donald Alderman, Dvosia Mintkovsky, Ella Bernstein, Emmanuel Scher, Esther Julius, Fred Schwartz, Gloria Spicer, Harriet Breaker, Harry Orme, Harvey Cohen, Herta Rothstein, Mike Pollan, Jeffrey Skolnick, Joseph Maitlis, Josephine Tobias, Juana Procopez, Julius Goodman, Larisse Rosenzweig Klein, Leonard Abend, Lester Gersh, Lillian Cohen, Lillian Roth, Louis Katz, Lyle Neal, Madeline Premack, Marshall Miller, Myron Silberman, Paul Mosier, Phyllis Costell, Rachel Ginsburg, Raymond Lowitz, Sam Goldman, Sam Marion, Sarah Coulter, Sherry Weinberg, Saul Hofstadler, Solomon Zwerdling, Stephen Levander, Stephen Reichenbach, Sylvia Ashkenaz, and Timothy Weiner. If you have another name that you'd like to lift up at this time that we didn't read, please hold their name in your heart or say their name out loud wherever you are. And if you're in mourning for anyone or observing a yahrzeit, please rise for the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish on page 52. Page 52, let's say it together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ba'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shmei dekudsha brihu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. If you're standing, you may be seated, and everybody lend me your ears for a few brief but meaningful announcements. Brief indeed. It looks like a quiet week here at Lake Wobegon, out here on the edge of the prairie. This Sunday, well, let's see, we do have a service tomorrow. Tomorrow's Shabbat, so we have a service tomorrow, and that'll be at 9:30 a.m. However you're joining us now, you can join us that way then too, and we'd be delighted to have you sing with us. On Sunday, there is no Hebrew school. Sorry, kids. That'll start back again in January. But there is a social justice meeting at 10 a.m. So if you're interested in the work of the Social Justice Committee, please join us for that at 10 a.m. on Sunday. On Tuesday, December 29th, there is a meditation group at 8:45 a.m. And that's it. There's no Hebrew school and no social hall this week, but we'll be back in again in the new Gregorian year. On Wednesday, there is the meditation group at 8 a.m. and the Pirkei Avot group will be meeting at 8 p.m. Remember, everything good is on the 8s. On Thursday, December 31st, Rabbi Jason Mann will be teaching his class, Exploring Your Life Through Torah, at 10 a.m. And you should know that our offices are closed Thursday and Friday in observance of the federal holiday of the New Year. But we will be having I should say and we will be having Shabbat services again next Friday night and Saturday morning. One last thing I want to tell you, I'm so proud of this community. We are well over halfway to our goal in the matching fund campaign. If you're curious about what I'm talking about, I know a lot of people are thinking about tzedakah throughout the year, but especially near the end of December for various reasons. I heard there's something in the CARE Acts that actually extends the effectiveness of people's charitable giving, and we've done something similar here. There's some generous donors have contributed to a matching fund. So if your tzedakah intentions include PJTC, just know that anything you contribute to keep this place holy and to keep all these great people together will be matched and then some. So watch your email for more information about that and how to participate. But if nothing else happens, Yasher Koach, everybody has been very generous with us, and I want to thank you all for that. With that, we are going to close as we opened, and that is by singing something. So please sing along with us, and it sounds better when you're standing. We've been delighted to have you. So sing us out, and then stick around for Kiddush, if you will. Cantor Ruth?
Let's join together.
Od Yevo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yevo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yevo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Od Yevo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yevo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yevo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam,
Salam, shalom. Shalom aleinu, Od Yevo Shalom aleinu, Od Yevo Shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Od Yevo Shalom aleinu, Od Yevo Shalom aleinu, Od Yevo Shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, shalom.
Good Shabbos, everybody. Thanks for joining us at PJTC. If you feel like sticking around for Kiddush, please do so. I got mine. If anybody has some wine or some schnapps or grape knee-high, whatever you celebrate with is entirely appropriate. So grab a cup and join us, and we'll do some of that, some of this hand washing, and some challah, starting with Kiddush. Cantor Ruth.
Let's do this together. I see some of you are picking up your Kiddush cups. Neil, I see you. Let's join together. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Together. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנהילה לנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנהלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
L'chaim. Shout out to Michael who went and got his Kiddush cup.
All right, if you wish to wash your hands along with me, wash as you wish, or I can just wash my own hands and I'll keep you all in mind. How about that? So it goes a little something like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzimanu al netilat yadayim.
Amen. And if you have a piece of challah bread or anything remotely similar, we'll join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lecha min haaretz b'te'avo. Shabbat shalom, everyone. We'll see
Shabbos,
you
everybody.
tomorrow.
Thanks for being here.